I don't even know why I'm writing this, but it's been eating me alive for months. I never imagined I'd be the kind of person who let something like this happen. I used to judge women who strayed. I used to think I was better than that. I had rules, boundaries, morals. Then I met him. I've been in a relationship for 6 years. On paper it's stable. He's a good man. He pays the bills, remembers birthdays, takes care of things around the house. But emotionally it's like living with a ghost. We don't talk unless it's about groceries, bills, or scheduling. The sex stopped feeling intimate a long time ago. Now it's scheduled, mechanical, silent. We haven't kissed with any real feeling in over a year. I thought maybe that was just what happens after a while. That we'd grow out of passion and settle into routine. But the loneliness crept in, and it stayed. Then there was him. I won't say his name. It's easier not to. He's someone I see often. Close enough that it made me nervous when I first noticed how he looked at me. He didn't say anything inappropriate. No cheesy lines, no long stares. Just attentiveness. Like I was interesting. Like I existed. The first time I really noticed him was at a mutual gathering. He laughed at something I said, really laughed. And for a moment I felt this ridiculous flutter in my chest. I hadn't felt that in years. After that he started appearing more often. Casual check-ins, little conversations in passing, small compliments like, "You always smell amazing," or "You've got that spark in your eyes." I should have shut it down, but I didn't. I told myself it was harmless. That I was just enjoying a bit of attention. What started as innocent turned heavy fast. I found myself thinking about him at night. Comparing how he looked at me to how my boyfriend didn't anymore. I'd catch myself dressing a little nicer when I knew I might run into him. Putting on perfume I hadn't worn in months. I kept telling myself it was just a crush. Just a phase. That I wouldn't act on it. One night we ended up sitting alone, talking. It was dark, quiet. He asked how I was really doing. Pause. I don't think anyone had asked me that in years. I told him I was tired. He just nodded and said, "I can tell." Our hands brushed when I stood up. Neither of us pulled away right away. My heart was pounding, and when I left, I kept replaying that moment in my head over and over. That night, I crawled into bed next to my partner. He didn't move. Didn't ask where I'd been. Just rolled over. I stared at the ceiling and tried not to cry. That was the moment I knew I was already in too deep. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, something had already shifted. And once that happens, it's only a matter of time. I started noticing how often he crossed my mind. Random moments, while washing dishes, stuck in traffic, folding laundry. I'd catch myself thinking about his voice, the way he listened without interrupting, how he smiled with his eyes. It wasn't just attraction. It was relief. Like my body was reacting to being noticed, finally, after feeling invisible for so long. He began texting me. Casual at first. Just jokes, memes, little check-ins like, "Hope today isn't kicking your ass." I responded every time. The rush of seeing his name light up my phone was addictive. I started checking for his messages more than my boyfriend's. The guilt came in waves, but I silenced it. I told myself I hadn't done anything wrong. We had coffee together once, just the two of us. It wasn't planned. He saw me and sat down. We talked for almost an hour. I laughed more in that 1 hour than I had in the last 6 months. He remembered things I said. Quoted them back to me. At one point, he touched my wrist to emphasize something. Just a brief second, nothing dramatic. But it lit something in me I hadn't felt in years. I knew I should have pulled away faster, but I didn't want to. I told myself I'd back off. That I needed space to clear my head. I didn't reply to his messages for 2 days. In that silence I felt worse. Heavy. Like I was missing something vital. And when he texted again with a simple, "You okay?" I couldn't resist. I answered immediately. That night I cried in the bathroom. Not because of what I'd done, but because of what I hadn't done and still wanted to. We never talked about my relationship. He never asked. Think he knew. I think I wanted him to know. Every interaction was loaded. We'd speak in half sentences, unfinished thoughts. There was this undercurrent to everything. Things we weren't saying, things we were both afraid to admit out loud. Every time he laughed, I felt drawn closer. Every time he complimented me, it was like a lifeline. One evening, we were leaving the same place, walking in the same direction. He offered to walk me to my car. I should have said no. Instead, I said, sure. It was raining lightly, and we shared an umbrella. We didn't say much. At the car, I turned to thank him, and he just looked at me. His eyes didn't move. He wasn't trying to be slick or seductive. He was just present. A man fully tuned into the moment, and I felt it. Every nerve in my body responded. I wanted to kiss him. Right there. I didn't. But I wanted to more than I'd wanted anything in a long time. And that scared me more than if it had actually happened. Wanting him like that, needing that connection, it made me realize just how lonely I really was. I wasn't just flirting. I was falling. And I didn't want to stop. It happened faster than I thought it would, but slower than I wanted. I didn't plan it. There wasn't some grand moment of weakness. Just unfolded. We were alone, talking again. And this time there wasn't any room left for pretending. His hand grazed mine and I didn't pull away. He looked at me like he was asking a question, and I answered it by stepping closer. The first kiss wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Months of silence and restraint breaking all at once. I didn't care about what it meant. I didn't think about the consequences. I just felt the relief of being wanted. Truly deeply wanted. I remember my breathing hitching when his hands were on my hips. His mouth on my neck, my back pressed to the wall. I remember the flood of heat and guilt twisting together, making me dizzy. I told myself I should stop, that it had gone far enough, that I could still walk away. But then his lips found mine again, and my body made the decision for me. I don't know how we ended up in the bed. I don't remember every motion, but I remember the feeling. The way he touched me like he'd memorized me. Like he wasn't just undressing my body, but undoing something in me that had been locked for far too long. Didn't feel like cheating. Felt like escaping. I wanted to feel small. I wanted to feel taken. I wanted to forget who I was outside that room. The moment I opened my legs, I whispered, "Please don't stop." I meant every word. I needed it. Not the act, but the affirmation. The clarity. I'd convinced myself for so long that I was fine, that I didn't need more. That a half-life was still a life. But in that moment, I knew I had been starving. It wasn't slow. It wasn't romantic. It was raw. Fast. Urgent. Every movement told me he wanted me. Not out of pity, not because I was convenient, but because I was mine and he was taking me like I mattered. My nails clawed at his shoulders, and I didn't hold back. I didn't fake anything. I didn't have to. There was a moment, just as I reached the edge, where everything blurred. His name on my lips, my hands tangled in his hair, my voice cracked and breathless. I came harder than I had in years, maybe ever. And after I just laid there. My chest rising and falling like I'd just run miles. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. For the first time in a long time I felt something real. Not happiness. Not guilt. Just real. I wasn't thinking about the fallout. I wasn't thinking about the man I was supposed to go home to. I was just there in the mess we'd made. Naked and completely awake that I woke up before he did. My body ached in all the right places, but my chest felt heavy. I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the silence. His arm was still around me. I didn't move. I didn't want to break the moment, but I also didn't want to stay in it. The high was gone. All that was left was the weight. I replayed everything in my head. The first kiss, the way he looked at me, how easily I gave in. I didn't feel like someone who made a mistake. I felt like someone who finally told the truth. That's what scared me the most. I didn't regret it. I didn't feel sorry. Felt alive. And that felt worse than any guilt I thought I was supposed to have. My phone had a few messages. My boyfriend asking if I was okay when I'd be home. I didn't open them. I just stared at the screen. His name looked foreign. Distant. Like someone I used to know. I wasn't angry with him. He hadn't done anything wrong. He just stopped seeing me and I stopped trying to be seen. It didn't happen overnight, but I couldn't ignore the reality anymore. We were pretending. Going through motions neither of us believed in anymore. He stirred beside me, kissed my shoulder lightly, and I felt myself tense. Not because I didn't want him. I did. But because I didn't know what this was supposed to mean. Were we going to talk about it? Pretend it was a one-time thing. I wasn't sure I could go back to who I was yesterday. I slipped out of bed and dressed slowly. My skin still hummed from the night before, but the mirror didn't lie. I looked different. Not in a bad way. Just different. Like I'd crossed a line and couldn't return. Not just a physical line but emotional. Mental. I had tasted something I didn't want to give up, even if I knew I couldn't have it forever. I didn't say much when I left. Neither did he. We just looked at each other, long enough to know we both felt it. Whatever it was. I walked to my car and sat there with the engine off, letting the air fill with silence. There was no plan, no next step. Just the knowledge that I'd changed something fundamental. Back home everything was the same. Dishes in the sink. His jacket on the chair. The hum of the refrigerator. I stood there in the middle of the kitchen and felt like a stranger in my own life. He asked if I wanted coffee. Said yes. We didn't talk about anything real. We hadn't in months. And the worst part. I didn't feel broken. I felt clearer than I had in years. It wasn't just about the sex. It was about feeling wanted, feeling chosen. And now that I'd had it, I wasn't sure I could go back to being untouched, unnoticed, unspoken to. I wasn't sure I even wanted to.